Oh, it's going to be so difficult because still remaining undefeated is Eanix.
That's
still
right.
with only one win is eRA. Is this going to be the timing? Let's head into picks and bans for game number 2.
And Totally, I know we talked a lot about Auzrik's impact in that game. What isn't in particular, as Eanix take first pick here at eRA Eternity, the losing team picks, I believe, choosing to go second here, what do you want to see him change?
I think that they should just change their focus. They need to shut down the momentum that the solo jungle had at the beginning of the game. That 2v2 was heavily in Eanix's favor. The TylrrK Chulainn was a little bit of a momentum changer in terms of not allowing this Cabrakan or Ratatasker from eRA to do anything, and that slowly showed itself in the mid lane. Once the level 5s happened, Sirduckbot, without the Aegis, really got exploited.
And if you're going to pick the double Hunter, which I don't have a problem with by itself, I think you have to make sure that you're the ones with pressure in that solo jungle lane and give them a little time to get online.
Normally, the team that has the double Hunter is forcing these objectives, trying to clear them and burn them really quickly. But then after that one botched Portal Demon engage, after that steal from 50-meter fly, I think
that was it.
The mentality from eRA just went down the drain. It just wasn't there, and they weren't making the plays and trying to secure those objectives. So that's why we're seeing now eRA try a different style. Now they're going to pick the Muzen yet again, but this time selecting the Fafnir, trying to augment that attack speed.
And they are taking the Fafnir away, but this is why I was worried about giving Eanix first pick. They're able to once again first pick to Chulainn, and they don't even have to give it to Auzrik, who we know played it well. It could flex into the solo, and Raijin, even more pressure in the mid lane.
A lot of early game clear from Eanix, honestly. The way eRA approached picks and bans for game number 1 was banning away the Village, banning away the Geb, but surprisingly, they substituted the Geb for the Ratatasker instead of the Chulainn, and I think that could bite them later on.
And they were the ones that played Rat last game, so maybe that shows that they think that Ratatasker is a high priority pick for Eanix, and I think they first pick it, maybe more just to keep it out of the hands of Auzrik.
Honestly, it's very easy for Ratatasker to just get in the backline with the global ultimate. That's why Auzrik had to get the blink as the Chulainn. I think maybe eRA doesn't mind Chulainn with a blink as long as they play around it a little bit more effectively. As long as you have the vision control around the jungle side, you shouldn't get oopsie-doopsied around the jungle.
And they lock in Osiris to eRA Eternity. That's going to be their solo laner more than likely as Chronos comes out. Chronos and a Muzen Cobb, they have some flex, but more than likely Chronos is going to be in that mid form.
It could be the case. It doesn't really matter, honestly, which role it's going to be, because at the end of the day, it's all about objectives from eRA. They're going to utilize that Fafnir AoE coerce on both the AMC and the Chronos, trying to get that early gold.
And this Bacchus pick is a scary one. Lots of damage and lots of control that he's able to get going for him. Last time, we talked about that blink initiate. Now it's the belly flop.
It's going to be very important for eRA to just mind their positioning around this Bellona. Surprisingly, last pick in the Cabrakan into the Bellona. Anytime that the Cabrakan uses the first ability steroid, that Scourge is coming to disarm him.
And that'll mean they're not going to be able to auto-attack into it. I like the composition that we're seeing from Team Eanix this time, though. And you mentioned the positioning for eRA Eternity. That's going to be huge. You can't let multiple people get hit by Intoxicate. Can't let multiple people get hit by the belly flop. Being able to spread out and not let them hit multiple with the same abilities, especially against this comp, is going to be huge.
Still going to be Sirduckbot in the mid with the AMC, letting Lyzurrr just kind of chill with the Chronos, getting him some free farm. Probably going to still sit in that dual lane by himself.
And I like this totally. I talked a little bit last game about how Lyzurrr was hanging even with Vaporish Coast. But if you hang even with a Chronos and then you're rotating in later on in the game, that's high impact.
But this time around, it's going to be Sirduckbot with Lyzurrr in the mid. Behind his DineOhSaw trying to set up the belly flop. Will connect onto Lyzurrr. A lot of damage early on, and that could be first blood. DineOhSaw with the meat club swing.
What a big initiation from DineOhSaw, as you said, looping around the back end. They really weren't expecting it. There's a lot of pressure here in the mid lane between Vaporish Coast 50-meter fly and the Bacchus. Now, because of how early they get the kill, he's still able to rotate over and meet for the wave and duo.
And that's going to allow Eanix to just clear this mid wave for free. 1v2 is Sirduckbot trying to do what he can in terms of poke, but now this is where the buffs are going to get stripped away.
I think that kill timing was the absolute worst kill timing that could have been. If it had been earlier on in the game, you don't miss the mid wave, but because of just how well timed it was, it frees them up to go rotate for the red buff right when the waves meet, so they do lose a little bit of farm in mid. and DineOhSaw is able to get back over to the long lane, no love lost.
And unfortunately for Lyzurrr, he had the Purification Vs available, but he didn't really either respect the damage potential coming out of Eanix, maybe wanted to hold on to that relic for a little bit too long, or he just got caught AFK in the brain, honestly, and then didn't see the Bacchus.
Yeah, the Bacchus likely caught him a little bit off guard. Now TylrrK going up against DineOhSaw over here. This is a new thing that we're seeing here. The Guardians farming these minion waves, or at least new for the fall split. It's something we've been seeing in the fall split pretty consistently now, as they try and get a little bit more pressure in the mid between the jungle mid.
This is kind of like a E-Honda versus Zangief matchup in the dual lane. A Bacchus against a Fafnir. Which one is going to hit harder than the last? DineOhSaw going to chug his beer while TylrrK trying to get that gold.
Era Eternity, it looks like we're able to come over and at least get those oracles, so some farm was returned back to them. They were able to go back and get. Look at this. They're going to go back to the mid, to those back harpies now to try and make up for the fact that they weren't able to get any farm. Instead, this whole back half and those harpies in control by Eanix.
It's true. Predators with his blue. Auzrik now getting his speed buff slower than their opposition, but separating this timing in terms of buff timing respawns might allow Eanix to look for a safe invade later down the road, and if they fail, they're still going to have their own buffs to take later.
And I think we saw Auzrik and Predators be a slight bit ahead over Rogue and USB. They take over level 4 just a little bit ahead of them. So despite, even with the kill in mid lane, over here alone, they sort of gotten a little bit ahead in solo jungle.
Not able to really capitalize off of it too yet with any additional kills, but that doesn't matter because it's all a patient waiting game for Eanix. They always set themselves up for that mid game, whether it's going to be the Vulcan for 50-meter fly or the Raijin, still opting for the Book of Thoth.
Vaporish Coast now joining as we see the Eagles rally come out from Bellona. Not able to get anything out of it, but this is what I was trying to highlight. They got those ultimates first.
That's true. They did pop level 5 first. They have the control around the solo jungle. Will get these mid-neutral Fire Giant Elementals, getting more gold under their belt, slowly but surely crossing that 1,000 gold marker. And considering it's 3 minutes into the game, this is not a bad way to start things off for Eanix. They won game number 1. They have the momentum.
Tycho Drums coming out into Sirduckbot. He's actually dueling back against two members here. Is the mid laner for ERA Eternity, looking for 50-meter fly, just not enough damage. Auzrik gets him cleaned up, but Duckbot recognized there was no way out.
So unfortunate. He recognized, like you mentioned, there was no opportunity for safety. He had to take somebody with him.
Yeah.
50-meter fly was one in-hand away, and unfortunately, the damage over time between the bees, the honey, and the bluestone wasn't enough. Sirduckbot missing, I believe, 2 important in-hands.
And that's really sometimes the difference between a first blood, or not a first blood, but a kill and not getting one, especially early when these hunters don't hit as hard as they're gonna later. You need to stack up every bit of that damage you can. Now, DineOhSaw looking to try and make an invade happen. TylrrK interrupting the belch though, so he's gonna have to give this one up.
The stun off the mark as well, not able to really belly flop back in. Honestly, if he really wanted to stay there, he could wait very patiently around the red buff, just drop the Intoxicate, guarantee the red buff steal, but wanted to play it a little bit more careful, saving that ultimate for more of a team fighting opportunity.
And it's not even particularly risky as Predators takes a good bit of poke. Since he has the belly flop, he could have got back over the wall. So I think you have a point there. If he really wanted it, it's something he could have tried to do. But look at Predators turning it back around in the 2v1. No kill opportunity, but just showing the pressure.
There's no mana for Rogue Team. That's exactly why Predators is baiting himself with Auzrik right around the corner, even forcing out the sprint.
Easy peasy, totally. Get the sprint for free off the pressure. 50-meter fly has to beads, though, under the pressure from Sirduckbot and TylrrK.
TylrrK is going to be able to make the pressure alleviated from Sirduckbot, is forcing out the beads, making sure that he's going to be really safe, but no safety for Rogue T unless that ultimate saves it, but no, Predators jumping over that one.
Predators not afraid to rally here on top of Rogue's grave. TylrrK goes up into the dragon form, trying to save USB, interrupts him out of the tremors. Auzrik not able to clean it up, just sticks around a little bit too long. Good rotation from Duckbot, cleans that one up.
The shell bait from ERA, just forcing Auzrik to want to take that bait, trying to get the return kill, thinking he could even get out into safety, but Predators and Auzrik, slight miscommunication. Predators wanted to get out, and Auzrik wanted to go back in, recognizing that he was about to turn into that range mechanic form and get off more abilities.
And that was an important return kill for ERA Eternity to be able to get that onto the Muzen Cobb, onto their mid hunter. Good knock up right into the belch, forcing out the ultimate from Lyzurrr for free, and he had to use that.
Round 1 successful. successful for Eanix. Now they could go for round 2 in this next wave. Without that rewind, the next belly flop stun will set up a lot of damage from Vaporish Coast, considering he has the red buff and he's still sitting on his ultimate.
And beads against Bacchus, it's important. Intoxicate and Belch, those stuns are huge. But once you're knocked up and the rest of the damage is coming in, it doesn't do you much good.
That's true. There's going to be a lot of follow-up from Vaporish Coast between that Ricochet. I was surprised he didn't initially use that Mark of the Golden Crow before the Bacchus made their rotation to make sure that the next Ricochet would be that stun.
Fighting over the purple now in the back end. DineOhSaw takes a good bit of poke for his trouble. And now up into the airs, Vaporish Coast with a full rotation over from eRA Eternity. Tycho jumps 50-meter fly just to create some space, and they are able to get out of there.
The purple buff invade was not successful. TylrrK walks away with that one at the end of the day. eRA holding onto the buff for a little bit further. Still struggling, though, in the gold category, down almost 2,000 gold, or about 1,500 or so at this point, is not something you want to do, especially when you're down 0-1 in a 2-game set.
And it's up against a high-pressure Guardian who I think doesn't have as big of an impact late game as someone like maybe Fafnir will. So letting them get this early lead started up is really hard. It really hurts to lead.
Especially with Predators playing this Bellona. He's just going to be a constant bully in that soul lane, not going to allow Rogue T to do much of anything. And I like how they honestly mix things up. They put OPUSB on the Cabrakan instead of Rogue T, really realizing that the sustain was the key factor that allowed Predators to get the matchup win as the tier.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about this vision control, too. We're seeing the left side be almost entirely in control of Eanix. There are a couple wards from eRA Eternity in this right side lane, but that's where you see these first kind of small gold leads start to really manifest. It's in vision control, information control, totally, and that's how they're able to use it on ganks and to set up bigger leads.
It's definitely not going to be a tier 1 or a tier 2 of any sort of item quite yet, but having about 200 gold lead per player gives you that advantage. Auzrik, though, blinking onto the back line, maybe forcing out some relics. That was his goal, but not doing so because 50-meter fly was a little bit too far away.
I think he did get the beads out of Sirduckbot, so it's a bit of a win for him. He does give up the blink and the ultimate to do it, though, so now that won't be available for him in the mid.
TylrrK's going to set up these oracles, but over the top is 50-meter fly and the Suns trying to lock down OPUSB, knocked up, the shell being popped, and first blood stricken for OPUSB.
And that's just not enough for them. So USB gets taken down, and that's what the goal was. Auzrik blinks in, forces some cooldowns, and then they force the issue over here by those oracles and get the kill onto the jungler of eRA Eternity.
Not using the shell either there, trying to survive. Instead, it was the shell from TylrrK. They could have probably looked to use that secondary shell just to extend the life a little bit further, but a level 8 Cabrakan without any sort of defense is very easy to pick off, even with that AoE aura to mitigate a lot of damage.
And Predators has established a pretty big lead over here, but look at eRA Eternity. They're making the call to start up the Gold Fury. TylrrK's too low to continue tanking it, and they do end up having to give it up as Vaporish Coast was looping around, not able to get the stun. That could have been big.
That sandwich could have been really tasty for Eanix, but barely off the mark was the Ricochet stun, but still stopping the Gold Fury was really well done there. They had the ward right on the top side, so the pull was very easily spotted out. Predators, though, taking a lot of damage.
He still has that ultimate available, so if he wants to jump out of there, he can, but realizing he wasn't in any danger, he sticks around. But eRA Eternity, totally, I think they were just trying to sneak that one away. As soon as they saw some pressure from presence from Eanix, they backed off.
With their composition, they have to try to go for something around the Gold Fury every now and then. If Eanix gives up a little bit of space, eRA needs to capitalize off of it. I like the attempt. Unfortunately, the ward was spotted a mile away.
And once again, this jungler impact between USB and Auzrik is heavily in favor of Eanix. Eanix has about a 1.5 level lead in that role in Auzrik's favor, and he's the one that's been able to set up a couple kills for his team while USB's already fallen.
Eanix still very patiently waiting for something to happen. They don't want to go for the Gold Fury quite yet, despite having this 2,400 gold lead. 50-meter fly, though, needs to be mindful. Going to get stunned out, forced to go into the beats by himself. He heard the Cabrakan.
He saw him. I'm sure he was staring right at him. A 50-meter fly felt comfortable enough to stick around. Ends up getting his beads forced out for free, though, so I'm not sure about that one totally.
No, not at all. That's just unnecessary damage, and this is what's going to trigger eRA to start this Gold Fury. Already sitting at about half health, but here comes Eanix.
DineOhSaw's here. That Intoxicate and Belly Flop are good for both leashing the objective and for securing it if he needs to. It's a lot of burst damage all at once. Looping around the back is Predator, so Bellona will be a part of this one too. Already taking a lot of damage is TylrrK. Knockout from Auzrik on the Sirduckbot, but he does have the beads available and he uses them, but it's just too late. Predators gets credit for that one.
Has the beads, but no Aegis. There goes his life. The first victim of this team fight. Without Sirduckbot, a lot of damage is missing. Predator is not done yet. Gonna force out the other magical hunter by himself.
And that's so big, it forces Lyzurrr back into the rest of the team, and no one's actually there. Predator's now 1v3ing and has a good chance to get taken down. Good return damage from the bludgeon, but keeps around long enough for Auzrik to road in. TylrrK is out of the dragon forms. Now he's locked in place. Lyzurrr just barely gets out of that one.
DineOhSaw not able to connect on that belly flop, giving up his life as Predator's 1v3ing for so long that the rest of his teammates weren't able to really help him out, considering that they got zoned by themselves. RogueT and OverPoweredUSB doing a good job of keeping Eanix busy, not allowing them to save Predators.
And so even though eRA Eternity get the only kill in that engagement, the health bars for them were just too low. They couldn't stick around. Now Eanix are the ones who get to clean up the Gold Fury for free and push it up to a 3,000 gold.
It's all about the stuff after the stuff, and Eanix have been on top of that, not only in this game, but also in game number 1, really capitalizing on some of these small little intricate mistakes that eRA just left open for Eanix to grab back in their side.
And now Eanix has a lead that they can really start to use here, totally, as they move around the rest of the map. eRA Eternity made a good call, I feel like, on that Gold Fury, but the execution was not there.
Not able to do it, but also confirming his own speed, timing that jump over Tyler's jump, and just like that, needs to walk away from 3 members, but over the top, Predators, there could be a collapse here.
USB ends up meeting some trouble in the back. Auzrik once again blinks on the Sirduckbot. That's been his game plan all set long. Belly Flop doesn't quite hit. The Belch does. They do get the stun, but there wasn't any immediate follow-up and no relics to force out either.
Jumped in is Auzrik. He's about to transform if he wants to. He will indeed root Lyzurrr in place, but forcing out the rewind 50-meter fly from a distance.
Good wall! Good wall comes out to keep him locked down into the tower. USB helps set up the kill on the Auzrik. Duckbuck falls to the good rotation from Predators, though, who comes along the back into the fight. Now there's 4 members bearing down on top of her. Bellona, we knew you well. You're out of there. RogueT now the one in trouble.
Finally dropping the stuns, but it's a little bit too late. Everyone from eRA is going to be safely retreating after the death from Sirduckbot. It was a 1 for 2, but yet again, they're in the red. It's more valuable for Eanix because they're very healthy here to go for this next objective.
Yeah, the people that are still alive, and totally, I don't think eRA are that low. They got to stop doing full backs at the end of a team fight like this. That's just leaving Eanix free to come in and take the objective, even though they lost 2-1.
The only person that wasn't in the red was Lyzurrr, but he was without his rewind, only having the purification beats. He wasn't even close to that objective afterwards. He really tried to min-max his farm by rotating to the left-hand side of the map, and that's what's allowing Eanix these free objectives that shouldn't necessarily be so free.
And now Eanix starting to push the lead up even further. They'll have a chance to come right back in, but lurking around is USB and the rest of eRA Eternity. If anyone comes through, it would be a nightmare situation, and that's why they don't. Instead, we see 4 members of eRA Eternity on the solo lane side just to make sure nothing's getting snuck away from them on this side of the map.
Not quite yet. DineOhSaw could be in a little bit of trouble trying to wait out that time stop. Will get hit by it, interrupt the belch. The belly flop comes through to save him, but already taking 50% of his health, but not until 50-meter fly returns it all to Lyzurrr.
And DineOhSaw patient there, doesn't feel the need to use any kind of relics or anything, does take a lot of health, but at least gets out of there without having to give up anything too important. And with no real big objectives on the map right now, he's free to back if he needs.
Something that we're seeing that's a little bit odd and peculiar is Sirduckbot going for Devil Gloves in the mid lane. Now, it's not unheard of, obviously, for a hunter to go into Devil Gloves, but in the mid lane, you're looking for the physical power for your abilities. Predators, though, 1v2, still boxing it out, will be safe. And the reason why I mentioned that about Sirduckbot is because he needs his bees to do a lot of damage on top of his stinger, so going for Transcendence wouldn't be the worst worst case scenario for him.
Yeah, if he's already considering stacking, I definitely get where you're coming from there. Maybe just valuing the lifesteal a little bit more at this point, trying to stay alive is Duckbot, but I agree. He's going to be a key part of what they're able to do. His 50-meter fly has been huge this game for them so far. They're pretty even in terms of XP and gold right now are the two. We can see them right next to the XP chart, but the impact in these team fights, when Auzrik blinks in, 50-meter fly is right there.
It's just so hard for Duckbot to run away from these blinks. Auzrik is always there, always penetrating the backline and always knocking up the B. He can't get away from him, whereas 50-meter fly, he has 2 escapes between his jump right there and then his CC immune ultimate whenever he wants to. And then he also has a huge amount of protection between that belly flop.
Auzrik is here, belly flop on a USB. They get half of his health bar without having to pay any kind of price for it, so he'll have to be a little bit more cautious.
Not able to make the plays happen, but Eanix still, yet again, slightly on top of these little encounters. They bullied out one. They get the map pressure that they need, which gives them timing to drop these wards. Left-hand side, they have some aggressive regular wards. They don't necessarily need to drop sentry wards all the time. They're going to hold it for the timing once this Gold Fury responds.
And this Gold Fury is a really big one here, Tolly. Right now, eRA Eternity have done a good job through 16 minutes, keeping the lead at about 3,000. They haven't let it they haven't let it get too far out of control just yet, but this Gold Fury, this is where it could happen, especially if Eanix win the fight handily.
Make it or break it for both of these teams. Nice little jukes from DineOhSaw, juking out 3 of them, but not going to juke out all 4. DineOhSaw trying to stun out 2. The cripple is going to prevent the belly flop, and it's a hard commit.
DineOhSaw takes a lot of damage in the end. They commit a lot onto him, but he ends up living, but that's one member who won't be here for a few seconds. eRA Eternity, though, not able to really capitalize.
Not at all. Auzrik was waiting for his time in the sun to look for that blink ultimate onto Duckbot. Still needs to make something happen. Good little escape from Auzrik, preventing that huge the huge lockdown that eRA could do.
DineOhSaw felt comfortable there. He did not use a relic in that mid lane. He's got him available for him in this next engagement, so he knows that he'll be okay. Again, 50-meter fly, blinking away from USB. I think his engages are a little too telegraphed, Tolly.
Well, as a Cabrakan, you're just going to be swinging those walrus hands every time you pop your one, and you're charging at them, and you make a huge sound. You're very difficult to miss, honestly, so you have all the time in the world to really adapt to that.
And that's what we're seeing. That's what the blink on Auzrik kind of cuts out. I mean, yes, his knockup is a lot faster and doesn't have nearly as much of a tell, but the blink from Cabrakan could cut some of that distance, but instead has chosen to go with the thorns and the shell.
Yet again, whether it's the solo lane Cabrakan with the thorns or the jungle, the idea is to not allow Vaporish Coast any sort of freedom in these team fights, but yet again, it's Eanix that are the ones engaging first, so it doesn't really matter that the thorns are there for OP-USB if he can't even get to the Hou-Yi anyway.
And it really feels like it's another game where Eanix haven't really needed Vaporish Coast so far. They've built this lead up with 50-meter fly and Auzrik, and an excellent play from DineOhSaw, who I don't want to overlook here. He's been doing a really good job on this Bacchus so far.
He's been quietly farming, sitting at level 17, the highest level of the game, also sitting with the highest net worth of the game, and that's what you really want out of your hunter, making sure that they don't have to carry the early game. They just have to not feed, do their job, soak in all that income until that power spike play happens around the 20-minute mark, where all these teams are going to be battling for the Gold Furies and the Portal Demons.
Now we're seeing a little bit of a rotation from Predators and Rogue. They're coming in closer now on this mid-Harpies. They are going to back up, and only Rogue. Predators rotating back in, so they might be looking to make this Gold Fury happen.
Trying to do something in mid is Predators, forcing out the stun from OP-USB. Jumping in his 50-meter fly, but a little bit out of range. There's DineOhSaw getting stunned out, proccing the Traveler Shoes from TylrrK. Still not pulling the trigger quite yet, but finally now positioning themselves around the Gold Fury. Could look for a potential bait with all this Sentry Vision control.
And Rogue T recognizes it. He's rotating on over to be a part of the engagement. OverPoweredUSB is going to lurk around the back end of the fight, and everyone from Eanix knows that they turn on him right away. Up into the Tycho drums and the knockup from Auzrik. That's a lot of damage, but hasn't fallen just yet. Return, good stun, and that sets up Vaporish Coast to fall to Tyler, and DineOhSaw falls. 2 quick kills for eRA Eternity.
The stinger was good. Predators is trying to retreat. The rewind is even better for Lyzurrr. Now it's Auzrik that could be in a lot of trouble. That's 3 dead Eanix members. 50-meter fly forced to retreat as well, and just like that, too much commitment onto this Cabrakan, a tanky target.
The big deal in that team fight was USB living when everyone from Eanix turned and burned on him. Then the setup from his stun was big. Predator's now the one that might be in trouble. About to transform his Tyler so he can't return any damage. He does get the return kill in the USB, but he'll actually able to jump into the Eagles rally. Might not die just yet.
Not quite yet, but they don't want to give it up. From the backside, this Rogue finds the tether stun. At the end of the day, a 4-for-1 as DineOhSaw has respawned, and it was a goal fury for eRA. Now they're moving over towards that Portal Demon. 50-meter fly without his ultimate. Going to be difficult to steal away this one.
Now the game is all but evened up, and with this Portal Demon, it's going to move a little bit in eRA Eternity's favor by about 500 or so gold to one team fight. We talked about how important that gold free was going to be. Totally swings everything back around in favor of eRA Eternity.
Just dumping too many cooldowns on the Cabrakan.
Yes.
There's not much more to say than that Eanix messed up on. If they didn't waste all those cooldowns, they'd be able to just retaliate on eRA's engagement there. The Cabrakan ultimate was good. Lyzurr's rewind was even better, giving him a second life, allowed the DPS to just keep on trucking.
And USB gets the perfect turnaround stun on the Vapor's Coast in that fight, too. That sets up the damage we see from Sirduckbot coming through. Yes, Tyler's one that gets credit for it, but it's those two in particular who really made that happen. And USB living through the burst was so huge for him. Now they got the Portal Demon. Now the Gold Fury's in their favor. They're pushing Tier 1 tower. And once again, Auzrik's in trouble as he tries to fight 3. Good knockup to create a little bit of space, but the stun in the wall locks him down.
Trying to get the kill initially, and they will do so successfully, finding the Eagles rally as well, trying to retreat. The damage over time is good from Duckbot. Suns for defensive measures, 50-meter fly, forced to use that Aegis, and it's a 2-for-1.
No respect out of Auzrik given to eRA Eternity just now. He sticks around despite the fight not going in his favor. Now DineOhSaw walking into the 3v2, trying to get a little bit of return off, but they're going to have to back off.
Still able to hold on to their Tier 2 tower for the moment. TylrrK needs to be careful here. That one ricochet could do damage just like that, but going to heal up from the coerce. Lyzurrr, though, now left in a 1v2, one knockup and one ricochet could spell his demise, especially without the rewind.
Now eRA Eternity are looking to take away this speed buff. Looks like they were able to do so successfully before Vapor's Coast and DineOhSaw could get here. So not able to take down the Tier 2 tower, but they get the Tier 1. They get a couple kills on that side, and now they're the ones who have a little bit of a lead going their way. Not quite 2K gold yet, but they're the ones deciding where to fight.
That's right. They're getting the objectives now this time around. They're getting the stuff after the stuff. They finally have adapted to what is needed to win the SCL. They have the 1 point from earlier on this split. They're trying to get their second. They really need to separate themselves because this is the final week.
And getting some points against Eanix that no one else has been able to get so far, that's pretty big. That point gets a little bit of extra value because it's one no one else is going to be able to have to go along with it. Rogue T, he was one of the ones that fell for eRA Eternity in that last engagement. So now he's got that High of the Urchin a little bit more stacked up. Also working on that Tier 2 of either the High of the Nemean Line or the Breastplate of Valor at this point.
It's not a bad idea, honestly, for Rogue T to absorb a lot of that damage. With his tether being able to limit a lot of the damage here. Sirduckbot trying to save his Tier 1 tower, but he can't safely go that way without a buffer.
It's USB who's coming along the back end of the fight. The initiation doesn't quite work for him. He takes a lot of damage, but Vapor's Coast, who's low Aegis, comes out, but USB with the hero play takes him down with the ultimate, and without their hunter, eRA Eternity have a lot of control over Eanix.
Sirduckbot is just able to consistently hit that stinger. Now Predators is trying to run away. He pops the spray. He still has Eagle's Rally available. He's baiting into his teammate. 50-meter fly, electrifying and slowing OP USB.
And this is what the difference is. I talked about how earlier in the game, Auzrik's impact was way bigger than USB. Now it's flipped on its head. USB is the one who's going through and leading the charge. This time, though, it's Rogue diving 50-meter fly who has to go up into the Taiko drum, fears him away from him to create a little bit of space. DineOhSaw trying to knock him up, but couldn't quite hit. Tier 2 tower falls. Eagles rally over the top. Comes in from Predators, sets up some good damage.
They're doing the damage, but they can't find the kills. Now still chasing down Predators without his ultimate. He could be a victim. It's a very low OP USB chasing an almost low DineOhSaw. He's able to retreat under that Tier 2 tower, and yet again, finally, eRA continuing the onslaught, getting a Tier 2 tower on their name, now shifting their attention to the dual lane.
And that comes down, still in my mind, to the initiation from USB in mid lane on Vapor's Coast. Once Vapor's Coast falls, and they're missing a lot of that big AoE damage they get from his ult, they have no trouble taking down that tier 2.
They've been so consistent this game, or at least in the later portion of this game, to not allow Vapor's Coast any breathing room. The stingers from Duckbot have been really on point, and whether or not it gets beads away from the cripple, the damage has already been applied, and with the Cabrakan ultimate just to lock down him even further, it's very easy to consistently pick off the Hou-Yi.
And you said it earlier, I don't know if it was by accident or not, but you were like, they've been doing it this game, or at least the later half. This later half feels almost like a whole different game, totally. Yeah. They've really turned it around of eRA Eternity. They didn't have a big lead, but I feel like it was a mental switch that sort of flipped for them, and now they're the ones choosing where to fight, they're initiating correctly, and as you said, Sirduckbot with these stingers has been on point.
And now it's time for Eanix to respond. We know what they're capable of whenever they're ahead, but now they're finally behind in a game where they have to crawl their way back into it. I think it's time for them to slowly readjust their positioning and wait for eRA to force something going down around this Fire Giant and then just retaliate.
And that's what Eanix are going to have to do. As you said, we know that they can run a game when they're the ones out in front. But what real veterans do, what real top-end teams do, is they stick around in these types of leads, these in-between 6,000, 5,000 leads where it's not over yet, but if you give up one more objective, then it is.
It's all about covering your options, and thus far, Eanix needs to find a way to do so. eRA are slowly getting out of control here. Tyler showing his face a little bit, baiting out some cooldowns as he regroups in the solo lane, but it's all Lyzurrr soloing that portal demon, already less than half health by himself.
And Rogue is keeping Auzrik and Predators busy on the right-hand side. DineOhSaw could be sandwiched between TylrrK and USB if they choose to go for it. Now the stun comes out. Portal demon secured by Lyzurrr, no problem. Belt on the USB. Gets a lot of good return damage onto him thanks to Vapor's Coast. But I think eRA Eternity got what they wanted.
Good patience, though, from DineOhSaw, not popping the Intoxicate, recognizing that it wasn't going to be enough to kill OP USB, especially with the shell bait there. And that's one teamfight relic, especially without the sprint from Rogue T that Eanix could look to push on.
Totally, what if the portal worked the other way? Where you could walk through to go back to this?
That would be some shenanigans, honestly.
Yeah, like if it worked both directions and go back to base and just come right back out. That'd be cool, right?
I think we would have to reevaluate how we look at balance and design at that point.
The portal deal might be a little too strong. If we let him do that one. Not choosing to have any further initiation, at least for the moment. Good job getting the beats at a 50-meter fly, almost for nothing there. He has to back off, and that's 160 seconds where he can't cleanse control, and Lyzurrr starts at the Fire Giant as soon as they hear that call in the comms. Fight going on in the back end. Predators already getting a little bit low, has to back off. It's the front line being established by USB and TylrrK that's creating trouble.
They forced a reset, though. Look at that. It was at 25% health not even 10 seconds ago, and now it's full health. Job well done. Predators, though, very low. Jukes out the stun, but it's Auzrik diving the back.
Good knockoff from Auzrik. Said that the sun's coming out from Vapor's Coast. 50-meter fly goes up into the Taiko drums. No one really falls from it, and now it's Eanix who got low health bars all around. Rogue T's got to back on out of there.
Just a bunch of dancing, back and forth action, a little bit of salsa and spice and flavor. OP USB setting up Lyzurrr for the kill onto Auzrik. First one of this team fight. Predators trying to run away from Rogue T. Over the top is DineOhSaw retreating himself, but the rest of eRA not giving this up, chasing down two more.
It's the double un for overpowered USB. Vapor's Coast, though, turns around and just smacks him right in the face.
Just, hey, you know, you got two. I got you instead. But hey, at the end of the day, Eanix are still struggling. eRA are coming back from their first game loss. They're able to control these objectives. They're winning these team fights. They're getting the towers, and they're finally going to be credited with their first Fire Giant of the game.
TylrrK transforms to the Dragon form to get that AoE Curse to set up Sirduckbot and Lyzurrr, the two late game in-handers, to take down this Fire Giant. Now they do have it around everyone but USB, 4 members strong with that buff up 10,000 gold against Eanix, who are undefeated so far.
This is the difference between going into a double physical hunter versus balancing your options and getting more magical damage online. With Lyzurrr going this Chronos instead of the Jing Wei, he's more successful in terms of being able to follow up some setup with his own time stop, additionally adding more damage to towers, more damage to these objectives during that 4th tick of the accelerate, which just increases his in-hand damage.
And that is another big-time difference that we highlighted earlier on, Tolly. When the game got later on and the Hunter started rotating over, Lyzurrr on this Chronos is having a way bigger impact for him. He's just on a god that's more late game. Look where he is right now in this build. He's got that Rod Tahuti online. Book of the Dead was one he started up with earlier too. Obsidian Shard. He's definitely going to be hitting hard.
And because of the Dynasty Plate helmet from the early game, paired up with that Book of the Dead, he has more resiliency to be able to absorb some cooldowns, some in-hand, and get that rewind still off. The second life from Lyzurrr has been showing to be the key to success for him, only having one death this game.
And we're also seeing late game Bacchus having a little bit less impact than he does early. In the early game, he can rely on the high base damage from his abilities to augment his kit. At this point in the game, though, with everyone building a little bit of defense into their builds, like you can see even Sirduckbot working on, looks like a Spirit Robe or a late Mantle, it's going to be harder for him to have that impact.
And it's going to be hard to hold on to this Phoenix for the moment. Still able to hold on for at least this one wave. Still Fire Giant around their waist for at least another 2 to 3 minutes as they siege down this left side Phoenix. They have the wave coming up here, and this means go.
Now it's time to go into the dragon form as TylrrK, Auzrik, blinks in, gets a 3-man knockup on 2 priority targets. Predators, though, establishing that front line's already taken a whole bunch of damage. 50-meter fly, couldn't quite get those Tycho drums to the right target. Up, down, comes out for Predators, but Rogue T is the one that gets the first kill this fight on the Auzrik, and they're still pushing on the gas.
Left side Phoenix still being engaged on Predators, able to dash away from that OP USB stun, but not DineOhSaw. He is going to have to take all that damage, but finally the Firebird will go down. Lyzurrr doing the damage that he's able to. He's trying to catch DineOhSaw, and he did with the time rift.
Lyzurrr taking down DineOhSaw, no problem. Totally. Now they're jumping in from TylrrK, gets the stun off on the Vaporish Coast. 50-meter fly is there to respond, but it's not quite enough. Over the top comes Rogue T. Vaporish Coast does live, but not going to be the same for this mid-Phoenix, which is in the sight to the double hundreds coming out from eRA Eternity.
Even without any sort of minions to eliminate the backdoor protection, the damage from this level 20 Chronos paired with a level 20 Muzen Cobb, too much to handle. 2 free Firebirds for eRA Eternity.
And now Eanix has a really tall task ahead of them if they want to maintain their undefeated record going into this match. eRA Eternity have taken 2 Phoenixes. They're the ones firmly in control of the game. Nearly everyone on their team is 6 slotted at this point totally as they strip the Gold Fury away from the map. How can Eanix possibly find a way back in?
They need to just get the wombo combos off. They need to find somebody out of position, get them isolated from the map, and then just pick them off, and then force maybe a 5-on-4 engagement. But the way eRA have been grouping up, it doesn't seem that there's going to be any sort of window for Eanix anytime soon.
And in that last fight, Auzrik gets a 3-man knockup onto perfect targets. He knocks up Lyzurrr and Sirduckbot. The problem is 50-meter fly wasn't quite close enough to immediately follow up with those Tycho drums because of the front line presence coming out from TylrrK.
That's the difference between Vulcan and the Raijin. Obviously, despite 50-meter fly still having top player damage in the game, if he was playing Vulcan this game, that ultimate would be way more impactful because he could still do it from a distance instantly and then start coming in. Whereas as a Raijin, after that initial setup from Auzrik, he has to confirm and channel all 4 of those drum hits, which take a lot longer than just throwing one Vulcan ultimate.
And the call now from eRA Eternity is going to be the right side Phoenix. Eanix has all 5 members here with Predators looping around the left-hand side to try and mount a defense. Rogue T, though, more than enough to zone him away for the moment. Minion Wave is here and under tower, but it looks like they're going to hold off for now.
Still waiting for that Fire Giant to respawn. It has expired from eRA, and that's exactly where they're going to. They have the timing that they need because that left and middle Phoenix isn't due to respawn for another minute and a half. That's plenty of waves to start flooding in with fire minions.
It's there. It's right. They didn't quite have the Fire Giant yet, but it is going to be breaking through from its chains here in just a moment. That way they'll have that extra sustain, a little bit of extra shred on these towers, so that way the push on the Phoenix will be that much easier, and Eanix are just kind of biding their time.
They don't want to contest because if they contest here, they will die, they will lose the game, but at least by waiting for eRA to push down the right side Phoenix, there's still room for eRA to be able to take advantage of, and that's what Eanix is kind of banking on here.
Predators does push out those long lane minions. They won't have to worry about those, but the push in from eRA Eternity was almost instant. Blinking from Auzrik does knock up 2 members, but the immediate turn and burn was too good. He does get a little bit of HP back, and look at Rogue T way in the back, keeping Vaporish Coast out of the team fight. No way for him to contribute. OverPoweredUSB now is going to be the one who runs in and keeps them zoned away.
Forcing out a very premature ultimate. Predators is going to be the first victim here against Lyzurrr. The rest of eRA trying to get into this Titan room. They have all 3 Phoenixes down. The Titan is at its most vulnerable form, and eRA is going to find the split and confirm the first loss from Eanix.
And that's a rough match there for Eanix. It looked like it all came down to that one moment where eRA Eternity won the team fight, took the objective, turned the game on its head, and they never gave up the pressure after that.
Lyzurrr on the Chronos, what was all about for eRA.
Yeah,
being able to
good.
survive a lot of these team fights with the clutch rewinds, and more importantly, his build. Optimizing into Dynasty played him, and with Book of the Dead certainly kept him alive.
And there were 2 things that I was thinking about coming into this game. You're right about Lyzurrr and the Chronos, but it was the jungle matchup. It was in particular how that jungle matchup is going to line up.
Absolutely. OPUSB playing this Cabrakan in game number 2 certainly was a refreshing change of pace as opposed to the Cabrakan in the solo lane, simply because of those ultimates that made an impact at the earlier stages of the game, and the rest of Eanix just couldn't really adapt.
The real problem for them in game 1 was Auzrik's initiations and the follow-up from a 50-meter fly on the Vulcan. In game 2, in that second half, though, USB was the one who was making the strong initiations. Yes, Auzrik was following up too, but when USB counters onto the back line of Eanix, then things go a lot better for eRA Eternity.
That one Gold Fury fight where everyone from Eanix dumped all their cooldowns onto the Cabrakan on OPUSB was just too easy for eRA to be able to win that team fight. They won 4 for 1. They got the Gold Fury. They never looked back after that.
If ever a game was lost on one team fight, it felt like it happened there totally. And it wasn't a horrible initiation either, really, from Eanix. They just didn't quite have enough burst at that point. Cabrakan got too tanky too soon, and they weren't able to clean him up.
The mid game was superior for eRA Eternity. They capitalized it with a nice split. Still doing a good job thus far, ending their Week 5 performance.
And I know it doesn't feel like it, but that was only set 1 of a day full of console action. So go grab a snack, and we got some more games coming at you.